Hi, I'm Megan Bell-Smith, a master teacher and seamstress. And if you want to learn how to quilt, I will show you how. Let's sew! When you've finished piecing together your quilt, you'll be ready for batting and backing. Then you can quilt the top. You want to quilt the top so that the three pieces stay together. On this apple quilt, I've used a stippling effect. This is with free motion quilting. You put down the presser feet and move your quilt throughout the machine freely to make different designs. You can do smaller stippling, and you can also do other shapes. You also have the option of sewing straight lines. Sometimes I use painter's tape as a guide. If you don't want to see quilted stitches on top, you can stitch in the ditch right along the seam line. Sometimes I also stitch around the inside edge about 1/4 inch. So there's all kinds of options for quilting the top. To attach the backing and batting, you can layer them together and use safety pins to hold the three pieces in place. The backing and batting should be a little larger than your quilt top. Don't trim it until you finish stitching on the top, and then we can trim the edge. You can continue placing safety pins around the quilt to hold everything together. My favorite way to attach the layers is to use an adhesive spray. You might want to put down some paper to keep your surfaces clean. Starting with the back layer, lay it down flat and spray on top. Then add the batting on top of that. It's not as strong as glue, so you can reposition if you need. Press it down and spray again. Now that everything's in place, let's take it to our machine and quilt the top. Let's review the different ways you could quilt the top. The simplest way is to stitch in the ditch along the seam edge. Another option is to sew straight lines down your quilt. You could space them out every couple of inches and use blue painter's tape or masking tape to keep your lines straight. I'm going to use free motion quilting. This is an example of a free motion presser foot. It has a spring so that it can move up and down on the fabric. You'll want to make sure you put the feed teeth down, and then you'll be able to move the quilt in this type of formation. Another tool that I've found is really helpful are a pair of quilting gloves. It's amazing how these tiny grippers really help you move the quilt in an even manner. If you own a Bernina, you might want to invest in the Bernina Stitch Regulator. This helps make even stitches across the top of your quilt. You can stop when you need to reposition and start again at any point in the fabric. There you have it. Now we'll go trim off this edge so that we can begin the binding. Now that you've finished quilting the top, you're ready to trim the edge. Similar to how you straighten the edge when you buy a brand new piece of fabric, you'll want to square up the corners because this will be your final product. It's okay to trim some excess fabric off the edge too. Okay, now it's ready for binding.